You know what it is? Prince Charles, King Charles and Jimmy Savile. Let's hear what's going on and why they were so close. Let's have a listen.
It's horrible to listen to, and obviously in the knowledge of everything he did, it makes it even harder. But you've uncovered the relationship that Jimmy Savile had with the royal family, particularly with Prince Charles. Tell us about it.
As part of the reason we were looking at this is we were trying to explain how Jimmy Savile got away with his crimes, and as part of that we were looking at a huge amount of archive footage of him on television over a period of 50 years. And as part of that, talking to people, we came across the letters between him and Prince Charles, which helped give us an understanding of the nature of the friendship that they had, which I don't really think we fully understood before. And I suppose what was most interesting and why we've included those in the film, which looks really broadly at many reasons why Jimmy Savile wasn't apprehended before he died, is that the relationship was one where Prince Charles trusted and respected Jimmy Savile, and I think that's really interesting, because I think what we were trying to do is look honestly at the British public's relationship with Jimmy Savile in order to try and explain how he got away with it. And I think there's been a temptation to sort of say after the revelations, I always hated him, I always hated the man. That seems to be the common answer we got when we phone people up. And I think that's unhelpful, because I don't think the archive material or footage bore that out. I think that isn't the case. I think he was trusted and respected, and I think that we need to look at that in order to understand how perpetrators behave and how this happened.
You look back at some of the comments and things at the time which nobody raised an eyebrow at, and now it is just horrible. I'm reading one piece, this is in Times 2 today, people can read this piece. This one from a clip from Have I Got News For You, and Ian Hislop asked, what do you do in the caravan? This is back in 1999, and he says, anyone I can lay my hands on. And you listen to this, and why at the time were we not picking up on that? Is it just because he almost groomed the establishment, groomed the British public?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think the archive footage, we looked at over 700 hours of footage, which hasn't really, for good reason, it was sort of put away after the revelations came out. And we looked at it sort of responsibly and carefully to exactly examine why, when he is, the cliches, he, hiding in plain sight. I think it changes over the years. I think in the 60s and 70s, what's most shocking is that his sort of, what we would now describe as lascivious, creepy, assaulting behaviour on women, which is happening in front of the camera on broadcast footage. What's shocking about that is not that he's doing it because we now know what we know, it's that nobody blinks an eye. It's completely normal. So I think that the social conditions at the time that normalised that kind of behaviour, I don't mean the things that we found out that he was also doing, but the sort of public.
Listen up, I want to fucking find out why he was best mates with Prince Charles, now the king.
Lasciviousness and creepiness was not judged as anything problematic. I think that's really, really interesting to look back at. I think later on in the 90s, it's interesting because the clip you mentioned is later. I think that the tactic slightly changes, because I think that by then that kind of behaviour, he is seen as a bit of a creepy, strange figure. And I think there's a weird psychological game that's going on where he is actually the one who is the source of the rumours. He's the one saying, the creepy things and suggesting that he's up to no good. And I think it does a kind of double bluff. It's a double bluff with the audience. So it's quite confusing, and people end up thinking, well, he's sort of saying it, so it can't be true. And I think that kind of psychological game that goes on is quite complex that we can now look back at in the archive, and we also asked our interviewees who were in the archive to look back at it themselves, which was kind of an interesting experience. Really helps us to understand how this happened in a way that's illuminating.
No, that was a load of shit. We did not see where Prince Charles. Yeah, let's have a quick look at this one.
Prince Charles asked predatory pedophile Jimmy Savile for help with the royal family's public relations, letters have shown. The future Kinghand wrote letters to the infamous TV presenter, who was later revealed to be a sex beast who leveraged his position of power and influence to rape and assault youngsters. Savile's advice and ideas were even seen by the Queen and Prince Philip, and now the letters will be seen for the first time ever in a new TV documentary. Charles' new fundraiser Savile was connected with many institutions across the country, but there is no suggestion either the prince or any member of the royal family were aware of Savile's wrongdoing. After a number of PR blunders involving the now disgraced Prince Andrew and then wife Sarah Ferguson, Charles reached out to Savile to help try and improve the family's image. The star then reportedly drew up an action plan that was viewed by the Queen and Prince Philip. The new documentary, released today on Netflix, shows a grab from Netflix's Jimmy Savile, a British horror story part 1. A story about the predatory pedophile who infiltrated the highest echelons of British society. Image, Netflix. One letter written by Charles at Sandringham on January 14, 1989, reads, "Perhaps I am wrong, but you are the bloke who knows what's going on. What I really need is a list of suggestions from you. I so want to get to parts of the country that others don't get to reach." Savile's philanthropy was a front for horrific sex attacks on hundreds of vulnerable victims aged from 5 to 75. He came into contact with the Prince and Princess of Wales through his work for Stoke Mandeville Hospital, Bucks, during the 1980s. Princess Diana opened its spinal injuries unit in 1983. Charles also asked for advice on responding to disasters, after Andrew's performance following the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Prince Charles wrote to the then-star Jimmy Savile asking for help with the royal family's PR issues. Image, mirror pics. Prince Andrew had been sent to the site but came under heavy criticism for saying it was much worse for the Americans, and adding that it had been only a matter of time before a plane fell out of the sky. Charles would then write a longer letter to Savile, sent on January 27, 1989, which read, "I attach a copy of my memo on disasters which incorporates your points and which I showed to my father. He showed it to HM." The day after the Lockerbie disaster, Charles once again turned to Jimmy to help with Fergie, whose behavior was becoming more and more embarrassing. Andrew's then-wife was falling increasingly out of favor with the British press, and a lot of the ire aimed at the royal family for its failure to attend a Lockerbie memorial fell on her, it was reported. The Queen saw Jimmy Savile's letters and advice. Image, Getty Images. He wrote, "I wonder if you would ever be prepared to meet my sister-in-law, the Duchess of York? I can't help feeling that it would be extremely useful to her if you could. I feel she could do with some of your straightforward common sense." On April 16, 1990, Charles asked for help with a speech he was making at London's Guildhall. He wrote, "You are so good at understanding what makes people operate, and you're wonderfully skeptical and practical. Can you cast an eye over this draft and let me know how you think we can best appeal to people?" Then, on July 4th, he wrote from Highgrove House, "Dear Jimmy, I can't tell you how grateful I am for the most useful assistance you have provided for my speech in the Guildhall the other day. It was really good of you to take the trouble to put together those splendid notes and provide me with considerable food for thought. Whether you think the final result is in any way worthwhile is another matter. With renewed and heartfelt thanks, Charles." The documentary, Jimmy Savile, a British horror story, looks at how Savile made contacts at the highest levels of society, including then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and senior police officers. Read more. Queen will hold more royal engagements from her own living room, says expert. Read more. Kate Middleton and Prince William's new life in Windsor, houses, schools and neighbors.
I was gonna sleep in late, but then I got high.
Absolute madness. Well, there you have it, people. Absolute madness. Jimmy on a mad one. Absolute mad one. I'm fucking King Charles. No need to it. No fucking need to it.